Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another 2-minute tutorial, and today's demonstration is all about shutter speed. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is shutter speed exactly? Shutter speed priority is either going to be in TV or S mode. TV actually stands for time value and S stands for shutter speed. So why would you want to use this? Well, there's actually two reasons why. The first reason is motion blur, and you can capture things like waterfalls or even do some cool stuff with light painting. And so the second reason why is exposure. Shutter speed is part of the exposure triangle, which is another tool that photographers can use, and it controls the duration of light that enters your camera, which is really good for long exposure photography. Alright, so my camera settings are set to 1/50th of a second with an ISO of 125. My f-stop is at about 1.8 on my prime lens, and I'm shooting at 24 frames per second. Shooting at 24 frames per second gives you this natural look, and that's because our eyes see at 24 frames per second. And if our eyes had a shutter, then they would be double that frame rate, and so that's why you want to stick to double your frame rate when shooting cinematography. So there's two things to pay attention here. One, we're looking at the brightness of our photo, and two, the amount of motion blur that's occurring. So I'm at 1/50th of a second right now, and the scene is decently exposed. And as I wave my hand through the frame, you can see that there's a natural motion blur occurring. So as I decrease my shutter speed to 1/15th of a second, you can see that the motion blur increases significantly. And in conjunction with that, the exposure in the scene became much brighter. Now if we crank up our shutter speed to something like 1/25th of a second, you can see that the exposure in the scene becomes much darker. So I'm going to pull out my light for this one, but you can see when I wave my hand through the frame that there is no motion blur. So in this tutorial we focused on the video aspects of shutter speed, so stay tuned for part 2 when we talk about the photography side of things.